The Arctic Monkeys are an English rock band from Sheffield. They were formed, and that's in England, obviously in Yorkshire. They were formed in 2002 and are still going strong. They've had a stable membership, I think just one member change over the years. And they've released 7 albums so far at the point that I'm recording this introduction. They've sold an amazing number of albums. And in fact, their first album, Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I'm Not, was the fastest selling debut album in the UK history. It sold over 360,000 albums in its first week, which broke the previous record holder by over 300,000 albums, which means it sold about 6 times as many as the previous record holder. Hi, my name's Dan, and this is a review of the album Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino by Arctic Monkeys, which was released in 2018 and was their sixth studio album, and it's my first time listening to it. And I was seriously surprised by this album when it came in, because I always thought Arctic Monkeys were guitar-based rock of the noughties. And they were. So apparently this took other people by surprise too. For me, it was a pleasant surprise. There's also a little bit of a coincidence here, because the last review on this channel that I did, probably released yesterday as this is released, was The Last Shadow Puppets, a supergroup with Alex Turner doing a lot of the singing. It's just a bit of a coincidence. So I would describe this as well. Other people have described it as art rock, and I'm happy with that. Musically, at times, it's somewhat hard to describe, but I would say it's kind of leaning towards lounge-like in some ways. So it's emphasized by two things. One of these is a lack of guitars and the prevalence of vintage keyboards. And then you've got a slap back echo on the vocals, which means you got the singing, and then very quickly it comes back with a single echo. As I said, it's Alex Turner singing here, and he sounds less like Alex Turner than he did in the Shadow Puppets album that I reviewed in the last one. So the tone of the voice is somehow different. I think it's because he's singing more quietly. There is still a distinctive twang of his Sheffield accent at times, which is something that I always enjoy. I'm from the north of England, so I like northern accents, and it comes through in his singing, which I like. Musically, so it's unusual, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a lot. It's pretty varied, but the overall aesthetic, I'd say, is one of retrofuturism. So it's a bit like sci-fi films of the 50s and 60s, where it was their vision of what the future would be like. But when we look back at it, it's a particular vision, and things have changed in the way we view futuristic stuff, so retrofuturism. And it's that blend of retro and sci-fi that actually worked so well, I think, in the Fallout series of video games. It's an interesting blend. It is a concept album, so it's based around this hotel that's on the moon, or hotel and casino, obviously, and a bunch of characters who are resident or working there, including Mark, the receptionist here. The songs are really nicely put together. So as well as kind of unusual music that I enjoyed, the songs and the lyrics are interesting and somewhat surreal at times. They have a kind of Twin Peaks-ness to them, I felt. I often don't comment on the cover art for an album, but this one I particularly like. But I also think I particularly feel it really well encapsulates the feel of the music somehow visually. And apparently Alex got quite obsessed with making this hotel out of cardboard, but it does completely work with the album. So I like it, not just because it's a concept album, which I usually like, but I like it for the kind of Stanley Kubrick aesthetic that it's got, and the quirky characters. So yeah, it got to me in a good way. Hence a reasonably high mark, more than reasonably. This is a good mark. So I'd love to know what you think of the album, though. So please do share with me by leaving me a comment. But that's it from me for now.
I just wanted to be one of the Strokes. Now look at the mess you made me make. Hitchhiking with a monogrammed suitcase, miles away from any half-useful imaginary highway. I'm a big name